Some leaned on bonnets or against the sides of trucks. Others took refuge under the trees on the median strip. They shared cigarettes and talked. I couldn't hear them, could only see their mouths and hands moving wildly. Meanwhile, the tourists waited in the back seats of taxis headed to and from the airport, watching on like little dogs through the cracks in their windows. I sat in my seat in the air conditioning and stared into flares of light for comfort. The sun's reflection in mirrors and sunglasses, in hubcaps and the handles of car doors. I looked at the mountains again, and at the cane bending in the breeze, then went back to reading my phone. I don't know how long it was until the train started up again, but when it did, the passengers clapped and laughed and made jokes while the train crawled past the accident. Out my window I saw it, or bits of it, and thought of nothing, felt nothing. A woman up in front cried out, "No, no, aiuto, no," and held her soft brown arms up over her face. I closed my eyes and turned up the volume in my earphones and did my breathing exercises. The train crossed the width of the country in 3 hours. From the accident onwards, I kept my music screaming and my head against the glass, squinting at the passing rivers and castles and factories. When we reached Pescara, it was getting dark. Though the city was small, when I looked left from the terminal steps, I could see the beach, and when I looked right, the highway. It was loud and bright with life, and there was a calming sea breeze rippling through the streets that appeared to welcome the passengers as we stepped off the train and onto the platform. I pulled my suitcase behind me with a tired arm past the river and the port where fishing boats rocked gently against the docks. Their mast and deck lights bounced off the water, and the smell of seaweed was dense in the air. I found the hotel I'd booked wedged between a GameStop and a small cafe, the California. My room, up 3 flights of stairs, was not a square inch bigger than was necessary to fit a single bed, a shower, a toilet, and a wardrobe for 2 coats. There were metal bars on the window, and the warm wind blew in between them. Under the open window was a black wooden desk, crammed between the bed's end and the wall. To keep my mind busy that night, I walked the streets of Pescara, back around the port and the boats, which in the dark were just bobbing lights and lapping water. I walked under the bridge, past fabric shops, the Lidl, the church, the piazza, and the park. I watched couples sitting close on benches and city cats sleeping on the steps of some government building. I watched the teenagers waiting in line for gelato, and other teenagers running from the shore into the sea as the moon moved up over the city. I felt at ease in the warmth, even cheerful, and wondered what it might be like to be around other people when I arrived in the mountains of Altino. Part of me recoiled at the thought, and another part of me could hardly wait until morning to board my bus. Back in my little single bed, in my elevator-sized room, I listened to the sounds of Saturday night, shrieking and fighting and singing and things smashing. As the streetlight beamed in and made it impossible to sleep, I was settled by those sounds. The sun was going down again when I reached Colle Luna, the town before Giulia and Fabrizio's. I sent the text to say I was 1 stop away. This bus took us up the last mountain and down again, into the valley where there would be no more buses, no trains, no nothing. From here on out, we were on our own. Ours was the last bus of the day, and it teemed with teenage boys coming back from the beach and the city at the end of the weekend. Groups of boys who played Italian trap from a Bluetooth speaker and yelled things I didn't understand. I only heard them in the breaks between songs, and hardly even then because I was fixated instead on the girl in the seat in front of me. I'd been watching her since we pulled away from the bus stop in front of the mechanic. First just because she was there and I couldn't help it, but later because I noticed the texts. She was holding her phone tight in her hands and right close up to her face, her whole body twisted away from the boy sitting next to her, who might have been her boyfriend, because she'd set a picture of him as her phone's wallpaper and because his hand had not left her thigh since Pescara. I had decided, from looking over her shoulder, that she was sexting someone else, in secret. She sat low and hunched up in her seat, with her back to the window and her knees towards the aisle. She would check her screen every minute or so, and when I caught glimpses of her messages, which she hid quite well, I saw the chat was freckled with emojis, hearts of all colours, drooling faces, and monkeys with their hands over their eyes, but most often, and maybe most horny, the red, sweating emoji with its little tongue out. I could also see, now and then, that the person on the other end was sending voice messages. The girl pushed her earphones deep into her ears with her fingers.